Hey everybody, I was away skiing last week, so I didn't make a video. However, I'm back and ready to pick up where I left off. So, we're one day away from the sequester. That's when those automatic spending cuts will kick in, and it's supposed to be something like $85 billion of spending reductions that will hit the economy this year. Now, one way to think about fiscal actions is by looking at it through the concept of income. We can do that since the total output of the economy, in other words, our gross domestic product, is equal to the total income paid to produce that stuff, and that's called our national income. The two things are equal. So when you hear the term spending cuts, you can just remove the word spending and replace it with income, and the phrase becomes income cuts. This identity has to be true because all spending by the government is income that's paid to someone. So a spending cut is the same thing as an income cut. Moreover, a reduction of income can also be thought of as a tax, right? I mean, that's how taxes work, and frankly, that's why we don't like them. They reduce our income. So while spending cuts and tax increases may be different terms, fiscally, they do the same thing. They reduce income. That's why when people argue for spending cuts, like the Republicans do, but they argue against tax cuts, the argument is really a total contradiction. That's because spending cuts and tax increases are really the same thing. Both reduce incomes. On the other hand, when the Democrats argue for spending increases and tax increases, they're also contradicting themselves because spending increases are fiscally the same thing as tax cuts. So how do you argue for spending increases and tax increases? One cancels out the other, and it makes no sense at all. Anyway, getting back to the sequester, if we're going to cut spending by $85 billion, then all we're really doing is reducing national income by $85 billion. So how is that good? How's it good? How is it good to reduce national income by $85 billion when the economy is not growing very fast and when unemployment is still around 8%? And by the way, you're going to end up reducing income more than that because for every dollar the government stops paying to someone, then that leaves less money for that person to spend, meaning that someone else will now earn less money and that person will spend less, and so on and so on. Economists call this a multiplier. In other words, those $85 billion in spending reductions might end up being more like $150 billion or $200 billion of reduced income. Maybe even more, who knows? Will reducing income of the private sector make the economy better? No. I mean, even an idiot can understand that. There's no way. Therefore, the sequester is not good. Now, where you might get some pushback, however, is on the argument concerning the debt. Some say we have to make these cuts in order to reduce the debt because the debt is going to bankrupt us. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. A, we don't have to make the cuts. B, the cuts don't reduce the debt very much. And C, we can't go bankrupt. Now, I've been over these concepts a million times, so I'll leave you to review some of my older videos to understand why these statements are true. For now, I want to focus on the debt arguments and on those people who believe we need to cut spending in order to get our fiscal house in order. A good example of this ignorant view is voiced by Tea Party Representative Louis Gohmert, who's a Republican from Texas. Gohmert said the national debt is one of the most immoral things the nation has ever done. He equates it to slavery and abortion. Slavery? Abortion? How is the government paying income to someone equal to slavery? How is it equal to killing an unborn fetus? How does repairing or building a road or a school equal slavery? How does spending on research and development or science or education or healthcare equate to an abortion? How does giving a Social Security check to a retiree, which, by the way, that retiree saved for himself through deductions from his paycheck? Or how does providing somebody with unemployment insurance, which then that person goes out and spends, thus supplying income to someone else in the economy, how does that equal a total lack of freedom, regularly applied brutality, and forced labor? You see what I mean? This is sheer ignorance and hyperbole of the lowest order. The debt incurred by the government today comprises all or part of the assets and savings of the current and future generations. That's why in World War II, when our grandparents racked up debt far greater than anything we are looking at today, it didn't bankrupt us. We are that future generation. And the factories, roads, schools, inventions, and even the incomes paid to workers on the assembly lines of war manufacturing plants were all part of the income and assets and savings passed along to us, which we own now. The debt was our inheritance, not some ball and chain that kept us from reaching our potential. In all cases, whether we're talking about the past or the present, the spending today, whether on infrastructure, healthcare, basic science, education, even incomes paid out to people in the form of retirement accounts or unemployment checks, leaves the current and future generations with more, not less. What Gohmert believes and states is nothing but sheer ignorance. It's a goofy, uneducated, hick type of stupidity. It's a bunch of dumbass lies and dogma from a dumbass politician whose belief system is even less informed than the members of some primitive tribe in some jungle somewhere. He is beneath an animal. And just like the rest of them who believe this nonsensical crap, the problem is they're our leaders. That's the scary part. And their belief system is everywhere. It's pervasive. Even our own president adheres to it, which means we got a tough fight ahead of us if we're going to save this country and perhaps even the world. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Mike Norman saying, see you next time. Bye-bye.